Hello. This interview as part of our Airtime Week dedicated to cabin crew. My name is Michael Jonga, and I'm delighted to be here to interview a number of flight attendants during this week when we mark International Flight Attendant Day. Today, we have the opportunity to speak to Cristina Tung, who is a corporate flight attendant at Freelance Flight Attendant. Born in Bilbao, Spain, Cristina's exciting cabin crew career started back in 1997 as a passenger services agent for Iberia. Over the course of the next 20 years of her career, Cristina went on to fly with over 17 different operators, both in private and commercial aviation. Among this list includes airlines such as Cathay Pacific, Air France, Japan Airlines, BA City Flyer, and Imperial Wings. Cristina, thank you for joining us here at Airtime.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Cristina, now you've had a lengthy career in the skies as part of the cabin crew, and we're going to talk about that as the interview progresses. But there's usually a unique story that leads people to aviation, that exposes them to aviation, or inspires them to take on a career in aviation. And I wanted to ask you that: how did you about joining the industry? What inspired you to become a flight attendant?
Well, actually, Michael, it wasn't a plan at all. When I finished my high school, I didn't know whether to go to university or not, or what to study if I did. So I ended up taking a job as customer service agent at the airport with Iberia. And while I was there, I used to see cabin crew coming and going from flights. So I thought, well, that looks like a very good job to have a good lifestyle and to get paid for traveling. Mm-hmm. So later on, I moved to London and I started looking into companies that were recruiting at the time, which back then many airlines used to recruit every 6 months. So you had lots of chances. And I started applying, and one job led to the next.
Over the course of your career, you flew with quite a number of airlines and operators in both Europe and Asia. And it almost sounds like you're a travel hobbyist, always seeking new experiences. How far or how close is that to the truth?
It is true. You can put it like that. I'm an adventurer. I've been living in so many different countries. I've been based in different places. So working for so many different airlines gives you the chance to live in different places. So, as I said, it wasn't a plan, but it ended up turning out okay.
And those experiences, I mean, it really wasn't part of the plan, but those experiences, how did you let them, kind of guide you in terms of saying, all right, I'm now a flight attendant, I'm now part of the cabin crew, and I'm developing my career this way. How did you approach those experiences?
Well, as I said, one job led to the next. So actually, I also wanted to advance in my career. That's why I started working as ground staff, and then I went on to work as cabin crew. And then my next goal was to become a private flight attendant. So actually, it was like a natural career progression. So as I went along, I kept looking upwards.
And your career, you had the career in commercial aviation, and this was, started off in 1997, and this ran all the way through to 2009. And in 2010, you then transitioned to become a freelance flight attendant. What brought about that change? And what are the core differences between a regular flight attendant and a freelance flight attendant?
Right. When I finished my contract in Saudi Arabia, I was there for 4 years. I came back home to Europe and I thought I'll try and find the same type of contract that I had back in Riyadh, which was 1 month on, 1 month off. But after a while, I realized that it's really hard to find that type of contract when you're based in Europe. So I thought I'd rather start freelancing, and then I have my off time and I can do my own thing and still have a personal life. So that's how I started. And the difference between a regular flight attendant and a freelance flight attendant, well, a regular flight attendant usually works for a company. She has, or he has, a contract, and they usually fly on a specific aircraft. So they're basically same as commercial cabin crew. They have a roster. And a freelance flight attendant, well, you get called for flights. So you don't have a contract with a company, and you could get called anytime to fly on any aircraft. And usually they call you when one of their flight attendants needs some backup because they're off sick, or they need a second flight attendant on a flight because it's going to be fully packed. So you don't have a contract and you get paid per day. So
and
it's like a mercenary.
Experience-wise, which of these two models have you enjoyed more? I mean, were you traveling more as a freelance flight attendant or as a regular flight attendant under contract?
When I came back from Saudi after finishing my contract, I was there for 4 years. I thought about finding the same type of roster while based in Europe, but I couldn't find it here because it's really hard to find that type of contract when you're based in Europe. So I thought, well, I'd rather start freelancing so I still have my off time and I can have a personal life. And differences between regular flight attendant and freelance flight attendant. Well, a regular flight attendant has a contract and she has a roster, and a freelance flight attendant doesn't have a contract with the company. She gets called for flights to fly different aircraft, and she can get called anytime, like when they need, in an emergency, someone goes off sick or they need backup or a second flight attendant for a flight, they call you, but you don't have a contract with the company.
You talked then about your your love for traveling and how you being a flight attendant allowed you to travel quite a lot. And I'm going to ask an unfair question because it's really a comparison. Which of these two models, being a freelance flight attendant or a regular flight attendant, which one did you enjoy the most? I mean, which one let you travel the most?
Well, both are very good. If you're a regular flight attendant, you do have a contract, so you have more stability, and you have a roster, so you know what you're doing. Money-wise, a freelance flight attendant, if you fly often enough, it's better. And you also have different destinations. You don't always go to the same places, and you get to see different people, so different customers. So I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It's just different jobs, different type of contracts, but both are good.
And maybe speaking about those differences, I mean, at this point in your career, you've had experiences in both commercial and private aviation. And could you distinguish those differences, I mean, between cabin crew operations in commercial and in private aviation?
Well, generally, private aviation is more safety oriented, and commercial aviation is more safety oriented. So to fly in private, you need to have some food background, or at least be comfortable working with food. And you have other duties, like you have to stage the cabin for the flights, you have to order the catering, you have to do the shopping for the aircraft. I mean, like you need to buy the newspapers, the magazines, the flowers, all sort of items that go on the credenza, and you have to clean the aircraft after each flight. And usually these operations are usually single crews, it's you and the pilots. And in commercial aviation, you fly in a team of people, and you have to do a safety briefing before each flight, which you don't do on private flights. And service-wise, it's less demanding. So I would say it's just two totally different jobs.
Mm-hmm. And maybe just talking about unique experiences, especially on these private flights. I mean, have you had those unique experiences, tailoring, really paying attention to detail? What has really stood out to you maybe in the last 20 years?
Well, I've had some really fussy ones, like the ones that the moment they get on board, they keep checking if you've cleaned every single surface on the plane, but they're fine. I mean, they just want to go on the flight and relax. And, flying private is just an experience, basically. They can do whatever they want on the plane. So they're usually not that fussy as people think they are. So, no, I haven't had any bad experiences. Commercial aviation, people tend to be a bit more rowdy and stuff, but not in private jets, no.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot has happened during this COVID period, and a lot of industries were affected, and in particular, aviation. Aviation as an industry was really hit hard. How did COVID affect your personal and professional life?
Well, my professional life was clearly affected because I've been flying far less than I used to. Because even though business aviation was doing very well during the pandemic, companies tend to ferry you to wherever the plane is to operate the flight. And say if you're based in London or Paris or any big cities, you're going to be fine. But I was stuck in Bilbao, and there's not a lot of private jet movement around here. So I didn't fly much, and the very few flights I did, service was cut to a minimum because we had to keep the distance. The passengers didn't want you in the cabin, and you had to sanitize the cabin after each flight. So it was surreal, the whole thing. And on a personal level, it was fine. I mean, I enjoyed the downtime at home, and I took it like a sabbatical year, basically.
And would you say that that was a silver lining, a bit of positivity out of this whole commotion?
For me, it was on a personal level because I could catch up with my friends, with relatives that I don't really have the time to see when I'm flying all the time. So yes, it was good.
And how about today? Are you flying as much as you were flying pre-pandemic today?
No, still. I'm not. I'm hoping during the summer it will pick up. I'm sure the industry will bounce back. It's just that I'm stuck in a small town. So, as I said, there's not a lot of private jet movements around here. I know colleagues that are based in London or wherever, they're still flying, and they've been flying a lot during the pandemic. But unfortunately, if you live in a small town, you don't get the chance. So, not yet, no.
Not yet. And
not yet.
What advice would you give to people who want to enter the industry, or are looking to re-enter the industry right now? What would you tell them?
What I would say is stay positive, bear with the pandemic for a bit longer, and use your time wisely. If you want to go into the private sector of aviation, try to get some good training, service training, some cooking classes, food pre-plating classes, wine workshops, anything you can get your hands on. And once you feel ready, just go and send your CV off to every company out there.
And maybe let's turn to happier times. And I want to touch on your career again. Very lengthy, 20 years at 36,000 feet. What have been some of your most memorable moments in the cabin?
My first trip as a freelance flight attendant, going to Galapagos Island, which is a protected ecosystem. And I didn't know at the time, the passengers were carrying a dog with them. And we didn't know that until we were about to land. And we didn't know the customs officers would come on board and search the plane to see if there were any animals on board. So we decided to give the dog a sleeping pill and put it in the cupboard, in the toilet, cover it with some blankets. It's a tiny one, so it could fit anywhere. So yeah, that's what we did. So we did embark, we didn't want going on to the yacht after. So we needed to kind of smuggle the dog from the plane to the yacht without anyone noticing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we put it in a cupboard in the toilet, and luckily for us, they didn't find out. They didn't check the toilets. They just walked around the aircraft. They left, and then we just put the dog. It was sleeping in a little handbag, and off it went. So yeah, so I became a smuggler on my very first flight as a freelance flight attendant. Yeah,
that's a very interesting story there. And yeah, maybe just to just to come and bring it all together, what are your plans for the future? I mean, what are you looking forward to in the aviation industry?
I'm not making any plans at the moment. I'm just hoping the industry will bounce back and I will get more trips, more flights by the summer. So it's just wait and see. But for the moment, I'm not making any plans. I plan to continue freelancing for now. Mm-hmm.
Well, Cristina, thank you for joining Airtime today. It's been great speaking to you and, hearing your story and this unique journey that you've been on. And I know that many people watching this interview will find it quite insightful. And that brings us to the end of this Airtime interview. But stay tuned for more exclusive content throughout this special week, celebrating the life and work of flight attendants across the world. Thank you for joining us. My name is Michael Jonga, and you've been watching Airtime. Goodbye.